Hello, I'm Yoko, and we're back with more Pokemon Gijinkas, aka drawing Pokemon as humans/humanoids. If you enjoy content like this, I have a whole playlist, but the TLDR is I have 6 semi-randomized Pokemon that I'll be designing, and the genders were generated using the Pokemon's existing gender ratios. Also, I got a new microphone for my birthday, and if it sounds weird, I'm still messing with the settings. But with that said, let's hop into the drawings with the first Pokemon, Pansear, who the generator decided would be a boy. Also, I know a lot of people hate this trio of monkeys, but I think the unevolved forms are at least aesthetically cute. And speaking of that, since Pansear is an unevolved Pokemon, I made this design on the younger side. This was a little tough because a human Pansear exists and his name is Chili. Okay, but seriously, I made his hair similar to what Pansear has going on in-game while trying to avoid Chili's hair. I gave him red pants and a long sleeve yellow shirt that is pointed at the bottom with spikes kind of cut off to try to call back to Pansear's belly pattern. To add more colors except red and yellow, I also took black / a dark gray and gave him an undershirt, as well as some black shoes. And the trio of Pansear, Panpour, and Pansage are actually based on Hear No Evil, See No Evil, and Speak No Evil. So I thought it would be interesting to call back to that by giving him a hearing aid of some kind. Sorry if it's not accurate, it's been a while since I drew this, but I'm pretty sure I just Googled hearing aid on the Google Images and grabbed a reference from that. I also made it orange to match the color scheme pretty well. But yeah, here's Pansear. I think he's pretty cute, and I hope you guys like his design. Now let's just get on to the next Pokemon. Nidoran, specifically the female one, so no need to randomize the gender. I still think it's funny that these are separate Pokemon and they straight up have the female and male symbols in their name due to Gen 1's limitations. Always fun to look back at that. Anyway, I ended up making her really young since she's the first in a free stage line and gave her a pale blue dress with jagged edges to resemble Nidoran's spiky bits. I also gave her frilled socks with white shoes. I added accents of the darker blue that Nidoran has on their spots on a shoe buckle, her dress straps, a bracelet, and also straight up spots that she has on the sides of her dress. I also ended up dusting freckles everywhere to call back to the spots as well. Hair-wise, I gave her small spiky pigtails with big bows / ribbons. I don't know what to call them, but I covered them like the inside of Nidoran's ears. I also have some of her hair sticking out of the pigtails on the side of her face, and that was meant to resemble Nidoran's whiskers. And I gave her big red eyes and tried to draw her teeth in a way that called back to Nidoran's little buck tooth thing that they have. And with all that said, here's my Nidoran female design. I think she turned out super cute and looks like she might have a little bit of a bratty side possibly, but that's okay, she's adorable. Hope you like her. On to the next one, which is Necrozma, or Necrozma, one of those, which has an unknown gender in the game, so they fall under the non-binary umbrella. This design sure was a struggle for me. Okay, so the first thing I did was Google to double check if Necrozma was a legendary or an Ultra Beast. Since I have my whole making sure the Ultra Beasts have almost completely covered faces thing I'm doing. And turns out Necrozma is a legendary Pokemon that resembles an Ultra Beast. But I think they're also classified as an Ultra Beast in the TCG, but I'm not sure. It was confusing. With all that said, I covered the bottom half of their face anyway with a mask and covered most of the rest with their hair, which I tried to make resemble Necrozma's weird body shape somewhat. I did let their eye peek out despite all of this. A lot of my struggles with this design in general was I went with this form of Necrozma and not any Ultra Necrozmas or anything, but it's a mostly black design and it was hard to get variety. So I did my best to make slightly different shades of black to try to not have everything get lost in the drawing, but you'll have to judge the effectiveness. The small bits of color I have are the facial markings on the mask that are already on the Pokemon and just little bits of color. And I kept the weirdly colored eye that Necrozma has the same. There's also the hint of light on Necrozma's hands and like things that stick out of its arms. So I decided to mostly cover up my design with small bits that are uncovered, revealing bright glowing skin. I gave them layers of outfits such as an undershirt with a weird collar thingy of sorts on top, and then a jagged sleeveless jacket on top of that with like a high collar. It's really hard to explain the process of designing their outfit when most of it was just throwing stuff at a wall and going, yeah, that works. weird arm brace and some kind of black pointed finger coverings. Sure, yeah, let's go with that. I gave them boots that are really high with pointed accessories on the sides towards the bottom. And when in doubt, throw on belts. Lots of belts. Who cares if they don't make sense? Or if they don't do anything? Final Fantasy never cared. Heck, cover most of their arms in straps of some kind. Doesn't matter what it is. For just a bit more color, I added some more colorful glowing dots on the belts that I put on their boots. And that's basically Necrozma. There was a big struggle, but I did my best. I also think it's funny that this edgelord has a pink background in the drawing due to being a psychic type. But yeah, hope you liked the drawing. I went from one I struggled with to a pretty easy one. Because next up was Mr. Rhyme, who despite having Mr. in the name is not a 100% male Pokemon. But the randomizer did decide I would be drawing a boy anyway, which I am thankful for because I could turn off my brain. And he literally has a mustache. This design process was very head empty because Mr. Rhyme is already basically a weird-shaped man. I kept him in the same pose and just basically drew Mr. Rhyme. He already has a hat, a mustache, gloves, shoes, a weird coat thing with poofy sleeves, and what seemed like blue pants. Honestly, this isn't the easiest to commentate on. Even though I'm not the biggest fan of Mr. Rhyme in general, I was happy to see him pop up so I could not pay attention. Mr. Rhyme isn't really my thing, but at least they're better than Mr. Mime, who is a monstrosity. I also know Mr. Rhyme is based on Charlie Chaplin, but I don't know too much about him. So yeah, that was a nice break, but here's my Mr. Rhyme. Sorry there wasn't the most exciting commentary. I hope you like him anyway. And now let's hop over to our next Pokemon, Milotic, who the randomizer decided would be a girl. So heck yeah, I get to draw a hot lady. I based her dress a bit off Jessica Rabbit style, giving her a slit that shows most of her leg and a strapless top. And while it's covered mostly by her hair in the drawing, I tried to imply that the back is open. Color-wise, I kept the top Milotic's cream color with it switching at her waist to a mostly blue that's patterned with black lines and a few red patches to look like Milotic's coloring. I really like the bottom part that lays on the floor a bit, and I made that mermaidy. And speaking of that, I've seen a lot of people suggest certain Pokemon would be cool as mermaid designs. And I'm sticking to mostly human looks in these videos with like legs and mostly human body. But I might redraw some of them in mermaid with alternate forms. So look out for that if you want to see them. Back to the drawing. I mentioned her hair earlier, but it made it a really long pinkish color, which was easy because Milotic already looks like they have hair. At the top, I gave her a blonde bit as well as 2 longer strands of a gradient that was supposed to resemble the horn and antenna that Milotic have. I had fun with her makeup where I made her lashes the pink color and gave her blue eyeshadow with a slightly pinkish tint to her lips. I also gave her 2 beauty marks on her neck since Milotic has that on there, but I also added another one under her eye just for some visual interest. Other little details are a blue earring, pinkish heels, and a bracelet that I'm realizing I need to stop defaulting to and figure out alternative designs for. Get out of my comfort space, make actual bracelet designs. I really wanted to play with the beauty aspects of Milotic's lore, and I hope I did her justice. With that said, here's Milotic. I really like her, and I think she's really elegant. I hope you guys like her too. I think she's my favorite in this batch. Now let's go on to the last Pokemon in this video. Magmar, who was also randomly decided to be a girl. Magmar being a pretty round Pokemon, I decided to give her a thicker body type, and I couldn't resist being a little immature, because if you didn't know this, Magby, Magmar, and Magmortar's Japanese names are Booby, Boober, and Boobern, which I find hilarious. If you're wondering why they're called that, it's a reference to a bird called a booby, which Magmar is partially based on. But with that all said, I made a certain design aspect a bit on the larger side to call back to that. I gave her flame-like hair styled like Magmar's head and a very small black eyebrows since Magmar's eyes in the actual design are right under the poof on its head. I also gave her some smoky makeup and gave her a black earring. Calling back towards a bit of alternative fashion, I also gave her a black choker and fishnet tights. Her shoes are red with black ankle bracelet like tops, and I gave her a mostly yellow dress with some reddish orange to call back to Magmar's flame patterns. I gave her another black band under her chest and added some weird frilled bracelet things since Magmar has kind of weird arms and I didn't know what to do with that. At this point, I'll also say her posing is a bit stiff, but I drew this drawing at like 1 a.m., so you know, I think it's good considering that. I think she'd be friends with Mela in the actual Pokemon games, by the way. But yeah, here's my Magmar. Hope you like her. I think she's really pretty. Who is your favorite design in this video? If you enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate it if you could like, subscribe, and check out my socials linked below. I suggest checking out my Pokemon Gijinkas playlist for other videos like this if you enjoyed this type of content. My commissions are open if you'd like to support me that way, and with that said, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week. Peace!